Checking In with Anthony and Glenn is brought to you by HD Supply.
It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn.
Hey, Anthony, how you doing, man?
Glenn,
Anthony.
it is a pleasure and an honor to be here with you in New York City at the Javits Center, at the hotel show, on the west side with all these hotels and buildings going up. I just couldn't be any more fucking excited.
I am so effing excited. I got to learn to use the real words.
No.
I mean, we already got the mature
I didn't
explicit rating on the
start
show.
the show and I dropped the F-bomb.
I know. Well, that's, I was wondering what took you so long. Usually you just open it up with a good
No,
fuck.
I usually don't drop the F-bomb, so I'm not taking it back, but next time I'll be better.
All right, so we're here at the HX Hotel Experience Show and BDNY, which are co-located at the Javits Center. I hope everyone had a great time at it, and I'm excited today because I have one of my personal friends, personal industry heroes here, an amazing entrepreneur, Mr. Roger Bloss. Roger, welcome aboard.
Well, thank you, and I'm thrilled to be in New York with both of you, so thanks for being here.
Yeah, so for those of you who didn't know, we'll go into Roger's stories, but suffice it to say, you have created a whole lot of different things out of absolutely nothing, and have really had an incredible, amazing career. Most recently, you sold the world's 8th largest hotel company. This is going back a couple of years already now, which was Vantage Hospitality, to RLH Corporation. Great move on your part, and soon you're going to be starting a whole new thing. So I just wanted to set the tone for that. So, Roger, let's go way back. Let's take that way back machine. How did it all start for you? When did you realize you loved the hospitality business?
It's. I think everybody has a similar story in this industry. We start off with nothing. We start out not knowing what we want to do, but I'm not Jewish, but at the age of 13, my dad said, go get a job. And it just so happened a friend of mine's dad owned a hotel on Fort Lauderdale Beach. So at the age of 13, we started going to work after school. And in 1969, and I'm much older than that, actually younger than 1969, but in 1969, Disney World opened up. And Florida became a year-round destination. So they had a shortage of employees for the hotel industry. And I was the first student in the state of Florida to be exempt from high school. I got to go to vocational school and study hotel management.
Well, how did you work that out?
My dad hated the idea. My mom loved the idea, so went to my mom.
It's so funny. It's so funny you say that because I say it all the time. If you can get a kid that's in 10th grade and you can get him in a school, a vocational school, instead of making him go through high school and then wait 4 years after college to see if he really made a mistake or not,
right.
I think that we should do more of that.
It's funny, Anthony, people talk about that all the time. The politicians are talking about we need vocational schools, Ben. We need trade schools again because everybody's chosen the college route, and there's not a lot of that blue-collar labor.
I don't know.
Plumbers.
I don't know if we've chosen that route. I think that something happened in society that created that attitude that there was something not good about having a vocational job. And I saw that happen as I was coming up in the 70s and 80s. In the 80s when I was in high school.
Yeah, you were a dummy. You were a dummy.
How they shut down all of those things. And listen, I can't do crap. I can't do woodworking. I can't fix my car. I can't do any of that stuff. And I think about the guys that are more naturally inclined to do that kind of business, how they were forced to go to college in a lot of ways, or just dropped out and didn't get prepared for life in the way that would have best suited for them to make them the most money.
You know, my brother's a builder, and he's an extremely successful builder. And he always said to me, he says, you walk down the street and everybody gives you respect because you have a suit and tie on. I walk down the street and everybody treats me like I'm a bum because I have jeans and, maybe a ratted up shirt. And my brother does extraordinarily well. So I think maybe when you come home and you have greasy hands and you're wearing stains all over your pants and people see how hard you work and you're working 8, 9, 10, 12, 14 hours a day, they're like, do you really want to do that the rest of your life? But then you put a suit on, you go in a rat race in New York City, and you may not come home with grease on your hands, but you're going to come home with agita in your belly.
Yeah.
Right, that's for sure. I just really hope that I feel like we're in an inflection point in society, and I feel like we're moving back towards respecting people that do stuff with their hands, which I absolutely love. But that's really not the topic of today. We're talking about smart entrepreneurship, and great entrepreneurs can be super plumbers, they can be super electricians, they can build amazing things. But you didn't go down that path. You found the world of hospitality.
Yeah, it's something that it became part of my blood. As I said, I was 17 years old. I became a general manager, and throughout my career as running hotels, I also learned that Holiday Inns didn't own Holiday Inns anymore, and Hiltons didn't own Hiltons anymore, and so on and so forth. So I decided that I should probably go into that side of the business, and I ended up working for Forte Hotels, Travelodge, running franchise development and franchise services. A little later on, I got a job offer to run Knights Inns hotels, and that was my first big break of leadership.
And was
Run
that
all the hotels? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Glenn.
yeah. So when I took over Knights Inns, they were modularly built. And
Really?
they were built out of Ohio back then. And what happened to them was, because of the changes in the roads and things like that, they weren't able to ship the modules anymore. So we became more of a hotel company, but again, a franchise company. And at that time, the Asian Americans were coming on the scene.
Right.
And they were first generation hoteliers in a lot of cases. And I started to learn what they liked and disliked. And if you look back today, they now own over 50% of the hotels in America.
When I tell people that, nobody believes me.
I know people don't even understand it, Anthony. They just don't get it. And
Well, people just still think that the flag on the door is the company that owns it, which you
exactly.
said they don't
Right,
know anymore.
right.
So there's a complete lack of understanding about how the business of hotels even functions.
you know, so franchising became very mandative. And I learned that
Almost antagonistic.
yes, and you don't push blue collar guys around, right? They're self-made. They came up the hard way, so you don't push them around. So I saw this as a franchise service person in my company, and I said, if we would educate them, they would follow. If we mandate, they're going to push back. So I started looking at this. What can I do that educates these people and shows them there's a better way to make money, do it easier, spend less time doing it? And Anthony, your show does a lot of that, right? And you, so what I said was, let's find a system. Let's give them everything they need, everything they want, and do it better than anybody else. But let's educate them with the process and how the ROI works.
Yeah,
and that's really the approach I took.
And the number one thing that they think is it's an expense-driven business, and it's the
No,
opposite. It's
no.
a revenue-driven business.
It is.
And because the expenses take care of themselves. If you have a 75-room hotel or you have a 100-room hotel, you need one desk clerk, maybe two on a very busy Sunday.
Right.
The housekeepers take care of themselves depending on how many rooms you're cleaning that day. The amenities are the amenities. You want to save 3 cents, you save 3 cents. But if you're thinking about the expenses and not thinking about the revenue, which a lot of the independent hotel owners thinking, that's when they go out of business. That's when they call me and my show shows up.
Right.
Right. It sounds, though, also at the same time, there was another thing happening with the hospitality industry, the strong rise of the select service business,
Yes.
which gave opportunity to a lot of those folks that came over from India to get into the business. And I think all of these things kind of came together for you at one time.
Right, and it's also at the same time, there was not a great deal of respect for their skills. And the larger companies, the more reputable companies have been around a long time, were hesitant to franchise to them. And that's why AHOA started, because originally when they came over, they couldn't get insurance and things like that.
Okay, so I think now we actually need to explain what AHOA is. It's the Asian American Hotel Owners Association.
Right.
They started out, maybe 20 guys in a room trying to band together because all they wanted was a fair franchising opportunities, to be treated with dignity, to be treated with respect, to be given an opportunity to operate their businesses as opposed to being told how to run their businesses. Now, flash forward 25 years, these guys have something like 16,000 members. As you said, they own more than half of the hotels in the United States. An absolutely incredible American success story. So all of this stuff is happening as you were president or ran Knights Inn.
Right. So from there, Knights Inn was sold to Windham. I worked for Windham, and quite frankly, Windham and I didn't share the same philosophies.
Right.
But what it taught me was, again, what people liked and disliked about franchising.
Was Wyndham HFS at that time?
It was HFS at that time, yes.
So Wyndham was
Henry Silverman was still there.
Yeah, it was previously Sendent, and before that it was HFS back in the 90s.
Right. So I left Windham and I said, I got a great idea. I'm gonna change the industry on how it franchises. And I took a membership model. And again, membership to me, kind of like American Express, has privileges. And that's what I presented was, hey, come to me, I'll educate, I won't mandate, we'll work with you, we'll drive your business for you, we'll work together. And I did it at a cost factor that was much less, and it was a pretty easy entry into the system.
Right.
And how many years, if I can, Glenn, how many years did it take you to stop eating peanut butter and jelly and actually make that work?
That's a great question.
Peanut butter and jelly was a luxury, Anthony. I tell this story, and my daughter gets really embarrassed, but my daughter, I started my company April 2nd, 1996. My daughter was born April 22nd, 1996. And I tell a story. I said, if she didn't wet the diaper too much, I could reuse it. That's how poor I was. And my second hotel was in Las Vegas. So I used to print out these badges and walk and look at the old reader boards. Remember before electronics, there was reader boards. And you walk in, you say, okay, HBO is having a conference, cocktail party at 7. So I go back to my hotel and I print a badge that says HBO on it, and I go to the cocktail party and eat and drink for free, because that's how poor I was. So yeah, as an entrepreneur, it was probably 5 years, Anthony, before I could actually breathe.
Right, and the reason I asked that question is because when I look at you right now, and I don't know who you are. I met you on the podcast through Glenn, but I know your company that you sold, and I know who you are in the industry, but I've never met you before. But there's always a starting point, and the starting point's always ugly, always depends on tears and emotion, and so I've been there in my own career. And people look at you and they see your success, and you maybe drive a very nice car, live in a very nice house. You obviously wear nice clothes, and think, "Wow, that was easy."
Yeah.
And I don't care about your success. I care about when you were getting your ass kicked. Yeah. How did that feel? What got you up in the morning when you were getting your ass kicked?
Because I was told by everybody, even guys like Glenn, that were my friends, said, it can't be done. How are you going to compete with the top 100 hotel companies on this planet? It can't be done. And I just, as a kid growing up, you were taught no fear, right? And everybody asked me, what can you tell me that made you successful? And quite frankly, I woke up every morning with no fear. Right. Nothing scared me because I had nothing to lose.
Right. Well, you're very fortunate that was part of your DNA makeup over there. But how did you make the choice to go from a place of comfort, running a brand, to transitioning to having nothing and a dream? Or where did you get the guts to do that?
I just knew I was always successful at whatever I did, even at the age of 13. No one cleaned that nightclub better than I did. No one made that room better than I did. So I knew I was going to be successful at what I did, but I just had to go back and, that old saying, failure's not an option.
Right.
And, and that just really comes in. As an entrepreneur, you put blinders on, and you don't see all the collateral stuff around you. You just focus on, and I always tell people this, when people would write me a check to join my brand, I said I'd drop it from my desk, and if it didn't bounce back up into my hand, I'd deposit it, and it was good. You're in the system.
So tell me what your brand was, and when it started to take off, and when you sold it.
So actually, my philosophy was, I started in 1999 with one property.
And that would be Vantage Hospitality.
And it was Vantage Hospitality. I started it, and I went to my first trade show, the AHOA trade show. And because I was in the industry, I knew a lot of the operators. So I had this idea. I put up a blackboard, and Glenn would walk by, and I'd say, Glenn, if you could see a company that did this, this, and this, and would only charge you that, would you be interested? And Glenn, of course, was my friend, and he'd say, sure, Raj, why wouldn't I be? So I said, Glenn, great. Would you put your name on the board and tell me how many rooms you have and what property it is?
Right.
And then Anthony would come by, and I'd do the same thing.
I know it's coming.
And then some next guy would come by that I didn't know, and I said, well, look, all these guys have already signed up. Why would you miss this opportunity? And by the end of the show, blackboard after blackboard of all these people. So the momentum started. Then I went back and had to actually collect the check, and sit down and explain it to them.
And just for people that don't know, there's not a lot of money in that.
No.
I mean, you have to have. It's like you can't own one McDonald's. You have to own 5 McDonald's.
Right.
Like you can't make money off of 2 or 3 hotels. You got to make money off of 20 hotels.
Yeah, and especially
hotels.
When I was dealing with the Asian Americans, they were first generation hoteliers, so they didn't have a lot of cash on hand. So it got
and
to
they
the
certainly
point.
didn't want to give it to you.
No. And
but also they had that same entrepreneurial spirit, so you were able to connect in that way.
So I got them to write the check under one premise: if I don't deliver you more business than you pay me in fees, you never owe me another dime. Mm-hmm. And after probably 12 to 1,500 hotels, netting 1,200, I'd say only one person ever claimed that I didn't do that. Mm-hmm. And so as momentum built, what really took off was when the recession hit.
Right.
that's when, because of my low-cost model, my easy restrictions on amenities and standards and things, really changed that. So
about 10 years into this, it really started to catch fire.
Yeah, so the best years of my company were during the worst years of the hotel industry. Matter of fact, I was the first hotel company to ever make the Inc. 500 fastest growing privately held companies in America.
Wow.
And I'm one of only 87 companies in all industries, all across America, that did it 8 years in a row.
Yep.
And I'm only one of 87 companies in history to ever do that.
And just sitting here a few minutes with you, I'll tell you why, in my opinion, you were successful. Because you meant what you said.
Yes.
When you said something,
yes,
you meant it. And if you didn't come through, you're the first person to call them and say, I screwed up, I'm sorry, I'll do better next time, and if you want to fire me, fine.
Yeah. A lot like you, Anthony, if people call me up and I say, I'm on my way. Mm-hmm. And I'd come and I'd do sales calls for him. I'd do whatever I had to do to prove to that owner he was with the right franchisor. And of course, as you grow, you get more talent, and you're able to do more things. But we never, ever deviated from our philosophy, and that was educate, not mandate. And everybody in my company had a voice and a vote. I did not change any standards, any policies, or my fees. Think about this. I did not raise the fees unless 66% of my members voted in favor of raising my fees.
Right, and that was one of the interesting things about your company. Because it was a membership organization, you were the leader of it, but they were active in the decision makings about what the brand was going to do moving forward.
So explain to me. I have a Holiday Inn.
Right.
How do I hire you? If you're managing my hotel, tell me what you're doing.
So let's assume that you're an independent, Anthony.
Right.
And there's a Holiday Inn next door to you. There's a Hampton on the other side, whatever.
So you're not taking over branded hotels?
I am, as they leave other brands. So typically in our industry, a Hilton may down brand.
I feel like we left out the fact that the hotel brands that you're familiar with is America's Best Value.
Yeah, you did leave that out.
Right.
Thank you.
What's that?
It's Vantage Hospitality is the parent for America's Best Value Inn, which is the one that they
and
had
it
a
should
lot of
be
success
noted,
with.
as we talk through this, you'll see that I didn't have standards, I didn't have a lot of things, but what I did have was a lot of pride of ownership. And last year, actually 2018, America's Best Value was #1 on J.D. Power. We were also recognized as the best hotel company last 5 consecutive years. So the owners took so much pride in knowing that they were part of this organization. They helped build it, that we became the leaders in the economy segment. So
that brand was the brand
that I found
on the door.
Right, America's Best Value
And
Inn.
Vantage was the management company.
Parent company.
Everyone independently owned and operated their property.
And then you advised them. And it's very interesting, the word educate as opposed to mandate. Because if you talk at your kids, they're not going to listen. If you're just talking and you're telling them stories in the car and they don't even know what you're trying to get across, and you just tell a story with a mission at the end of it, they just think you're telling another one of those stupid stories they don't want to listen to. Right. But they have to listen because they're in the car. But you're not mandating and you're not telling them what to do.
Yeah. You're right.
It's a completely different model.
And I'll say the other thing that their mantra was that really guided the company is in business for yourself, but not by yourself.
Oh, I like that.
I think that really framed the relationship that they tried to create with their independent owners.
Yeah, and I have to give you credit. It was the chairman of AHOA that put that statement out one day, and I said, "Can I have that?" And he goes, "Sure." Yeah. And that's where it came from. It actually came from one of the leadership of AHOA.
I love that saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things that they kept emphasizing year after year at their annual conferences. And one of the fun things about getting the opportunity to go to your annual conferences way back when you had it at the now non-existing Monte Carlo Hotel is every year we would go back, you held it in the Lance Burton Theater. And every year it would get more fuller and fuller and fuller until finally you had to leave the facility because they couldn't support it because there were so many folks now involved in the
We actually outgrew it. We've actually outgrew 3 hotels during my leadership.
The Golden Nugget, and then you had to move on to the Hard Rock.
And actually the Hard Rock liked our business so much and they liked our audience so much that they actually built a 35,000 square foot ballroom to keep us. And actually it was dedicated to me. So the ballroom at Hard Rock has my name on it.
So at the height, how many members did you have?
A little north of 1,200.
That's it?
1,200 members, 1,200 hotels.
Then you can have peanut butter and jelly on rye bread.
There you go. Right. And actually would pick up some burgers occasionally as well.
And you didn't have to have one diaper for your daughter.
No.
But so one of the things, before we wrap this up, one of the things that's very important to me. It's getting more and more important every single day, is for me to talk to young people. If a young person DMs me, I get on the phone with them and I talk to them. I just gave all the Cornell students the other day, I spoke to them, gave them all my cell number. And 3 of them called me this morning.
Wow.
Okay?
I bet.
It is so important to me to talk to young people because they're smarter than me. Listen, when you go to Cornell, you're smarter than I am. Even though I do a class there called Build Your Personal Brand for eCornell, they're smarter than me.
Yeah.
But the one thing they're not smarter than me is no one's ever going to outwork me. It's never going to happen. If you outwork me today, you're going to regret that you did that.
Right.
Because I'm going to kill you tomorrow.
Exactly.
So that's been my secret.
That's why I just sit around and do nothing.
Right. It's not my brain. It's not even my enthusiasm. Is I just will outwork you.
You know, one of the things,
So what's the one thing that you can pass on to a younger generation or even an older generation that really has been your secret sauce, personally?
Face to face.
Oh, I like that.
Always face to face. Never hide. Go to a conference like this. Some of the CEOs have an entourage around them. They walk on stage. They walk back out. I walked through the trade show floor.
Oh, yeah. Not only that, but here's another thing I remembered. You used to have me host a few times a Q&A session.
There you go.
With yourself and Bernie Moyle, your partner and CFO. And it would be an open forum for anyone to say anything that they wanted to them, and they would have to respond. And these guys, the Asian American community, is not shy.
No.
And they say exactly what they feel. And they would sometimes put the screws to you guys.
My philosophy was tell me what I need to know, not what I want to hear.
Right.
And if they tell you what you need to know, you're able to fix it, right? Because the hardest thing in this business world is, what does your customer want, right? But if they tell you, it's pretty easy to fix it.
Yeah.
Or I could say to them, hey, that's a great idea. We're going to have to talk about how we're going to pay for that as a membership organization. So if you'd like to put it on the ballot to raise your fees to pay for that, then it's your decision. And I would tell you, Glenn will tell you, in the 19 years that I ran the company, I never, ever did not have a fee vote that passed. You know?
Right, because you laid out the arguments and you explained how they will make more
Transparent.
money inevitably from it. I remember one time some guy thought he was going to give you a whole lot of guff because he was having trouble with your PTAC manufacturer.
Right,
or
yeah, I
something,
remember
and he brought like some broken
In a box.
equipment with him.
In a
right?
box, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, this is what's happening. And you're like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. We're going to fix it. And it totally deflated him.
Yeah, he had
and
nothing to
he
say.
had nothing to say after
I said,
that.
first off, I'm embarrassed that that this happened. Secondly, our vendor signed an agreement that says they're going to make it right. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to take it back to the vendor, give him a chance to make it right. If he doesn't, I will personally. And you know what? The vendor stood up and goes, I'm going to make it right today.
Right.
And that's the kind of spirit, it's contagious. It's infectious,
when you
right?
get defensive or you're like, it's just like, just say, dude, I screwed up. I said it the other day. The greatest thing to say is I'm sorry, because it takes their power away.
Yeah.
And it gives you the power, because it's like, you can't beat me up anymore because I said I'm sorry, I'm going to fix it. So what else are you going to say?
Right.
Yeah, and so I would also, if it got a little contentious, I said, tell you what, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to get it off your chest, and then we're going to resolve your problem.
Right.
But go ahead, I'm going to give you your 3 minutes, because they want that.
Right.
They want to get the
They want
emotion
to feel
out.
like they're
Yeah.
being heard.
Yeah.
Too.
Right.
So you got 3 minutes, get it off your chest, and then I'll fix it for you.
So I think that's a good advice for anyone. Face to face. Even when we were doing this podcast, it's people who want to be on the podcast. They're like, "Hey, can you Skype me in?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I don't want to Skype you in. I don't want you to be on the telephone call." So why? Because I don't do well in podcasts if that's just face to face. You have to fly out. You want to be on the podcast, you have to fly out.
Right. It's a lot harder for us to do this program
Sure.
face to face, but I do think it really shows. I love the ability to connect.
Yeah,
in person
I
with
refuse to
people.
do it
Yeah,
any
I
other
wouldn't.
way.
Hey guys, I know this is a great conversation, but we need to hear a word from our sponsor. We'll be right back after this message. Hey everybody, Glenn here. So listen to this. Cobblestone Hotels is celebrating their 10th anniversary, and man, have they accomplished a lot in the last decade. Already they have more than 150 hotels throughout the United States, but they're in smaller and medium-sized markets. Those markets that the big franchise companies, they're underserving, they're overlooking, and in some cases just ignoring. But Cobblestone is an expert in these markets. And their president and CEO, Brian Wagernes, listen, I've gotten to know him in the last 10 years, and he has worked every job possible, including being an owner and operator. I can personally vouch for how awesome this company is, how awesome he is as an individual, because he understands the importance of finding the right combination of hotel brand and franchise owner. He's also an incredibly dedicated professional.
Whether it's a Cobblestone Hotel and Suites Main Street design, Borders Inn and Suites, or one of the newly acquired brands such as Boulders Inn and Suites, Key West Inns, Centerstone Inns and Suites, Cobblestone has brands that range from economy to upper mid-tier, and one that's right for you. Quite simply, Cobblestone Hotels is the franchise for franchise owners. Patrick Mullenix, well, he's Cobblestone's new president of franchise development. Give him a call or check out their website at cobblestonefranchising.com. But give Patrick a call. He's a great guy. I've known him for a really, really long time, too. You can find him at 920-216-0620. That's cobblestonefranchising.com. And tell him Glenn sent you.
All right, so you built a successful company, and then you sold it to Red Lion, now RLH Corporation.
Correct.
You had a good run over there, but you're now ready to start all over again.
Yes.
And create another new company. In your words, tell us a little bit about what your next venture is going to be about.
Well, Glenn, you know, and it's a little personal.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I drove my truck off a cliff, and they told me I would never walk again.
Mm-hmm.
And so wanted to obviously overcome that. And you can imagine the intense pain and things you go through. And so the doctors they wanted to put me on prescription medications. And I just knew that was not right for me. And he said,
you do not have the ability to handle that.
So after, getting to know your doctor pretty well, going through what I went through, he said, Roger, you're running a, huge company. You're working every day. You're in tremendous pain. You're bedridden. We got to do something for you, relieve your pain. And I said, look, I'm not taking that stuff. And long story short, they recommended marijuana to me. And I said, how can I do marijuana when I'm running the 10th largest hotel company in the world? And so they introduced me different methods of it, including the CBD oils and things like that. So it's quite frankly, it's what got me through my pain. It allowed me to run my company. I woke up feeling pretty good the next day, minus the pain. So I became a big fan of what it could do medicinally. But it wasn't really socially acceptable back 10 years ago.
No.
Recreational marijuana has only been around, a short time. So it wasn't acceptable. So it wasn't something I could walk out on stage and say, I run the 10th largest company, but I got to go rub some CBD oil on my back.
Right.
So it wasn't something you could socially accept. But today with, the vote, if you look at the votes out there, about 60% of America is in favor of it. And if you look at the people that utilize it, it crosses all genders and ethnicities and age groups. And so because it's so personally involved in it, I have become involved in the cannabis industry in Las Vegas, where it is both legal recreationally and medicinally. So my plan is, as part of this company, we're a publicly traded company. It's called MJ Holdings, and we're a diverse marijuana company. We are the largest grower of outdoor marijuana in the state of Nevada. We have our own dispensaries, and we have a huge conglomerate of marijuana cannabis affiliated projects.
Unbelievable. Interesting.
Yeah.
I just heard Mike Tyson is opening up a marijuana farm in Vegas.
Okay, so that's probably not going to happen. You probably heard he was going to open it up in the Coachella Desert,
Yes.
which is right outside of Palm Springs, which they just made the cannabis corridor. So you've heard a lot of talk about Mike Tyson going out there. I follow it obviously very closely. He has not pulled any permits or anything of that nature, so it's a lot of talk at this time. But Glenn, I've showed you we're involved in a project called Coachillin. It's 160 acre, yes, CoAchillin.
Tell them why I'm laughing.
And
So people that don't know why I'm laughing.
And you can find that video on YouTube as well.
Yes. So it's a 160 acre cannabis park.
Right.
We'll do everything from grow to distribution. It encompasses every aspect of the cannabis field. So our first hotel, we're going to build the first cannabis hotel on the planet. And before I start talking about a cannabis hotel, it's not a place where you go and smoke. It's not a smokehouse. It's typically, and I'll describe it to you, but this park, we will put it in the park so people, it's about education, it's about information, it's about experimentation, and you can do all of this at our park. And then, of course, at the hotel, it'll be about wellness and health and how do you utilize these products in different ways. And you'll be able to experiment at our hotel with experts around and like minds around, and you'll be able to test the products and see what works best for you.
No, it's fascinating. As some people who are listening know, I broke my ankle. I shattered my ankle about a month ago, and I was in the worst pain I can ever imagine. Probably not as bad as yours because you told me you were. How long were you?
I didn't walk for probably close to a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was pretty intense.
Yes.
And I did take the medication the doctor prescribed me, and I took it the way he told me to take it. And because I'm not a person that gets addicted to things, I don't have an addictive personality, I have an intense personality, I was pretty comfortable that I'd be okay with it. And I am. Matter of fact, I haven't taken medication now in probably 3 or 4 days. I'm taking Tylenol. I'm back on Tylenol. So I'm not in any way, shape, or form worried that medicine was going to do me harm or I was going to get addicted to it because I know my personality. However, it would have been nice to know that I had an alternative to that, and I could have done something other than that. Because I was, to be honest with you, I was a little frightened.
Yeah.
And the people around me were like, "Anthony, don't get hooked on
Right.
that stuff." And it's like, it's just not my personality.
Right.
It's not going to happen,
Yeah.
and my medication is probably going to go in the toilet in a week. So I wasn't worried about it. But honestly, it would have been nice to know that I would have had that as an alternative.
Yeah, and if you look at the big pharma companies, they're investing in it heavily. There's a seizure drug now that's just been approved by FDA this year. So it's the education side of it, the informational side of it is really coming out extremely, really strong in favor of.
It's amazing to see how we've gone as a society from demonizing it into now finally embracing it and acknowledging the opportunities that it really presents.
I'd like to see alcohol go away and make marijuana legal everywhere.
I think that is a huge.
I don't know anyone's
thing.
ever screwed up their job because of
Right.
marijuana
No.
or beat
Right.
their wife because of marijuana.
Exactly.
No, I always joked around that they should get the the head of the PLO and the head of Israel together and smoke a joint together, and then they could just go eat some Twinkies instead of hitting each other.
So the hotel gives these people like you, Anthony, a place to go, and experiment. And at our dispensary that we have in Las Vegas called Acres, it's all behind glass. So you can watch them make the products. You can actually watch them, fulfill the orders and things like that. So everything we do is about visuals.
So what happens when other states do make it legal, and in 5 years when smoking a joint, at a kitchen table in front of your kids isn't anything that's taboo? What happens to that kind of business where it's no longer the Disney World of marijuana? It just becomes normal.
And that's why I preface by telling you it's not a smokehouse. It's about health and wellness.
Okay.
And so we will create a hotel that will sustain all of that past, because it will become pretty mainstream at some point.
Well, yeah,
but
I see it as like casino gaming, how
Right.
that spread across the country
Right.
and became mainstream.
But you also see casino gaming, the numbers are way down because the millennials and things aren't gambling like we did, the
No.
baby boomers. But so they adjust their product. They went to entertainment.
They make
right?
more money on food and entertainment in Vegas
Right.
than gambling now.
Exactly. So our hotel will always be about service, health, education.
How many rooms?
They're going to vary between about 120 and 150.
But if somebody wants to, I don't smoke pot, but if somebody wants to smoke a joint in your room, can they do that?
No.
They can't.
Because
It's not smoking.
there's the Clean Indoor Act and things of that nature.
Right.
So that's why I said it's not a smoke.
But you can build all balconies, though.
We're going to build all balconies
can
because
smoke
we
a joint.
know there's going to be people
Right.
that are going to indulge, right?
So they can.
They can, right? Because what you do outdoors is okay.
Right, okay.
So but most people are going away from smoking the flower into vape pens and things like that. So the edibles and the consumables are going up drastically, like 60% of the market already.
Wow.
So the flower part of it is dwindling. But nonetheless, the flower still makes the CBD oils and still makes the THC oils.
But those edibles, you got to be careful. I was in Amsterdam last year doing a show. My daughter was with me. My 15-year-old daughter at the time was with me. And we walked into a bakery, and the young lady said, "There's wheat in the brownie." I was like, "I can have wheat." And my daughter looks at me, and the woman says, "No, there's wheat in the in the brownie." I was like, "I can have wheat. I'm good with wheat."
Yeah.
My daughter looks at me and she goes, "Dad, there's pot in the brownie." I was like, "I wish you wouldn't have told me. It would have been great to get my 15-year-old daughter stoned in Amsterdam."
But the thing is, Anthony, now where it's legally prescribed, it is all the contents are labeled very clearly.
Right.
So
I love that about the edibles.
Yeah. So you know how many grams you're taking of what. And again, back to the hotel where you can experiment around like mines, we may tell you, you're a first-time user, Anthony, we recommend this dosage. And after a couple experiments, you'll find what dosage fits you, works for you, where you're most comfortable.
Because I hear people, I guess when you take an edible, it doesn't hit you as hard as a joint, and they take too many, and then before they know it, they're flipping out.
Well, what happens is they'll like eat like 50 milligrams, 100 milligrams,
it didn't work.
Because it'll be one cookie. And then they sit around for an hour and go, nothing happened. And then they'll eat a lot more. And then 20 minutes later, it kicks in because it can take an hour and a half, up to 2 hours, depending on your physiology for it to kick in. And if you know, I believe California has set a limit to, like, you can only do something up to 10 milligrams per unit or something like that? Or is it another jurisdiction?
It would be different. California's a little bit has more leniency than that. But again, it's not about how much you can consume. It's about what works for you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And I think by having it very strict in how much each thing can contain, you don't eat that cookie that's 150 milligrams and freak out. You have a couple of pieces of candy that are 5 or 10 milligrams, depending on what you can handle, and then you can go from there.
But there's so many entrepreneurs. We just signed an agreement with a gentleman out of Miami that invented a little cup. Kind of, we call it a Kcup, and what it is, it's an exact amount of oil, and it goes into a vape pen, so you know exactly what you're taking, what's in it, and it's measured. So there's a lot of creativity coming out there, a lot of scientists in the industry.
Where's the industry in 5 years?
We believe it'll be federally legal. We believe it'll be dispensed very carefully through dispensaries and licensed entrepreneurs, but we do believe it'll be federally legal because Canada's already legal, so we've got it pressing at both ends of the border, north and south. And let's face it, it's generating a lot of revenues for a lot of states right now.
Right, that's why I equate it to what happened with the casino gambling.
Yeah.
It was, gambling is bad for society, blah, blah, blah. Oh, how much are they making? And then all of a sudden that all went away.
The lobbyists can fund my Senate race?
Yes, exactly.
But if you look at Las Vegas, the first year of recreational, they hit their annual forecasted budget by June.
Right.
So not only is it working extremely well for the residents of Las Vegas, it's working really well for the tourism industry.
I didn't realize this. Somebody in Vegas can be walking down the street smoking a joint and it's fine.
No, because
you can't do it out in public.
You can't do it in public.
You can do it
in your privacy of your own home
can
or
you
your
do it
own
in a hotel room.
No, because there's a Clean Indoor Act.
Okay, so you can do it in your home.
Yes.
You can do it in your car.
No, because if you're driving, you would be considered under the influence.
Okay.
If you were
caught.
that's
why you're necessary, because you're teaching us all these
exactly
things.
Right. And we want people to understand the medicinal side of part. Right. We all understand the psychological, the THC side of it, but what people are learning about is the real benefits of the medicinal side of it.
And once the government starts to ease starts to relax the rules and regulations they have, I think we'll start to see the research that's going to bear out some of the things that we inherently know but haven't yet been proven through studies.
And you look at CocaCola made an announcement last month that they were going to enter into the cannabis industry.
Really?
I feel like Molson is trying to do the same thing with beers, right?
They've already invested north of $4 billion into the cannabis industry. Coca-Cola made an announcement last month that they were going to look into it. 1 out of 4 beverages Coca-Cola serves on the planet. So it tells you where people are looking and they realize the benefits of it.
So you must be uber excited.
I am really excited.
I say you're more Lyft excited.
So
you're
what I
excited.
did was I joined a group called MJ Holdings. We're a publicly traded company, and I am president and CEO of the hospitality division. So I will handle the marketing. We will do a lot of conferences, trade shows, and of course the hotel side of it.
Do you need a good marketing company?
I probably do, and I also need a really good tour company because we are going to run tours through these facilities so people can learn.
I just happen to have the best marketing company in the
Really?
world that does everyone from Dr. Pepper and everybody else. They do my branding, so I will introduce you.
Okay. Do they enjoy the cannabis?
I don't know. We'll have to ask them.
Because if they're not
They're
cannabis
shaking
friendly,
their head. They're actually behind me. They're shaking. My marketing
doesn't look
company's
like it's
behind
going to
me.
be a problem.
if they have one in their briefcase, they've got a job.
Right.
They're when you briefcase mark. It's funny. My marketing company, who I work with, Alternative.
So if he's
Marketing,
got an
is right
edible in
behind
there,
me.
we're good.
So we'll make that connection for you.
That's excellent. This has been a great story. Now, one thing we like to do at the end of each show is ask a question, which is, Roger, tell us something we don't know.
About me?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be business related. Matter of fact, if it's not business related, it'll be more fun.
What you
Roger's
don't know
looking.
about me? I am very shy.
Oh my God, that's funny. I say that's funny because nobody's. Go ahead. I'm
Nobody
sorry.
would ever say that. You know, my kids, when they want something, they go, "Dad, go to that talk you do." You know, and or like, because I can virtually get anywhere just by talking to people, right? You know how that goes.
Right.
And so that's what I would tell you is I'm pretty shy until you put me in front of a camera or a microphone.
Right. It's so funny because people don't realize I'm a loner. And I'm very introverted, and
Yeah.
people don't know that about me.
Yeah.
Because that's the last thing. You probably even look surprised because I have 4 television shows.
Yeah.
I'm a keynote speaker like yourself. You know, I've run businesses.
Yeah.
But I keep my circle very, very small.
I got to tell you, my favorite episode of yours was when you found the eggs in an Asian American run
Baltimore.
hotel, the
Baltimore.
boiled egg, hard-boiled eggs
Baltimore.
that were like 6 months old. I'm exaggerating, but that was my favorite episode.
Yeah, that I'm trying to remember the name of the hotel, but everyone on my set got sick.
'Cause
And
you-
not from the eggs, but from the dust. There was so much dust in the hotel, and Abercrombie Inn, and now it's a beautiful hotel. It's in
Good.
Baltimore. It's a beautiful hotel. They new owners. So if you're in the area, go because it's a beautiful hotel. But everyone got sick, and we call it the Abercrombie. So anytime anybody on my set gets sick, we go, "Oh, you got the Abercrombie." The only person that didn't get sick was me. And I was
You
the
didn't
one
eat
that
the
was-
egg?
But no, but it wasn't the egg. It was the dust. And
Yeah.
I'm allergic to dust. And I was the one more involved in dust than anybody else. But everybody got sick from the hotel. But what you're talking about was the eggs we saw. One of my producers saw that the eggs were out every morning for breakfast. It was maybe
Right.
the third day we were there. And my director said, "Hey, let's put a little dot on the back of it and see if it's there tomorrow." I said, "Hey, good idea." So we did that. And then the next morning we came. We asked the young lady. We said, "How long have these eggs been out?" She goes, 4 days. And I said, killing your guests is bad for business. and I didn't. I just came out of me. I said, just so you know, I'm not mad at you, but killing your guests is bad for business, right?
Yeah.
They probably won't approve the credit card. And I remember that was probably it's funny. Of the 108 shows, that was probably the. And I've been pretty pissed off. That was the most pissed off I've ever been.
Yeah.
And then they started yelling at the wife, and I was like, "What are you yelling at her for? It's not her fault. You're all a bunch of idiots." And so that was an interesting.
And what do
show.
eggs cost? 20 cents?
Right.
You know?
It's just, and again, it gets back to it's not an expense-driven business.
Right.
It's a revenue-driven business.
Yeah, I think we've come full circle here. Anthony, tell us something we don't know.
Well, I will tell you something you don't know about that show, specifically, a behind-the-scenes story. The son was supposed to come back with the mother to clean the property that night, or I was leaving.
Okay.
And the son never came back, but the mother brought the husband, and they spent the entire night cleaning that hotel, or I was going to leave the next morning. And then the son came in the morning to take all the credit on camera, and I told him some nice choice of words, and I said, "Don't come here." And I nailed him on national television. I said, "Dude, you didn't come last night, and you want all the glory. It doesn't work that way."
Yeah.
And so that was behind the scenes of the Abercrombie Inn.
Right.
Did
Excellent.
did you ever have you ever walked off a show? I know you've said
Yeah,
it a few
4.
times. You
4.
have.
I've walked off 4.
Okay.
I've walked off one upstate. Upstate New York. Walked off one.
That was the Woodstock show.
Woodstock.
Be sure to check out our episode where we focused entirely on that Woodstock show
Yeah.
in our catalog.
And then there was one in Orlando that we literally would down to the last day. My niece, who's in hospitality school, my godchild.
At the Rosen Hotel School?
No, she's here in New York.
Okay.
And so we're at this hotel. It's right outside of Disney World, and the woman didn't listen to anything I said. And I said, if you don't do X, Y, and Z before I leave, I'm going to come to you Friday morning. If you don't do it, we're leaving. So go to her. She doesn't do it. And it was basically she had to put $200,000 in an escrow account to get rid of her killer bees problem, her bed bug problem, and her mold problem. And then I would give her my services for a year, my consulting and my management company services for a year for free. I said, but you put it in. It's not my money. I said, do you have enough money to do that? She said, absolutely. She didn't do it. So we basically took the sign. We had a new sign with new name, took it down. We took the entire renovation out. And so my niece looks at me off camera and says to me, Uncle Tone, that was really good. How long do you plan these things out? I look at her, what are you talking about? I said, we walked out. She goes, that was legit? I was like, that was legit. She goes, oh, you were really mad? I said, yeah, I was really mad. I'm still mad.
So your kids are in hotel school?
My niece is going to hotel school. Another one of my nieces is thinking about hotel school. We were just talking about. And my daughter, Nina, I'm working really, really hard to get her to think about Cornell.
Okay. I got 2 kids in hotel school. My
Which one?
daughter's a senior at UNLV.
Oh, wow.
And my son's a freshman at UCF and the
wow.
Rosen Hotel School. and he just informed me he's going to go to Disney University next semester.
Oh, cool.
So there's some great opportunities
Yeah.
for these young people out there.
What I say all the time is this is the best business in the world
Yeah.
for. Like, would you ever think that you would be in the hospitality business and the marijuana business?
No.
How crazy is
No,
that?
but it's funny though. There's a lot of talk about it, and I actually called Glenn about a month ago, and I said, Glenn, because I had to talk to my kids about it. I said, kids, I don't want to put you in any awkward positions if your dad's in the cannabis business. They're like, Dad, everybody's in, it's no big deal.
Right.
And I
You
actually
become a cool dad.
Yeah, I actually called Glenn. I said, Glenn, am I doing a disservice to my kids or myself? And he's like, no, Rod, you wouldn't believe how many people are talking about this.
But you know what it is? It's like anything else. It's, did you think Amazon would take over the world? Did you think Uber would take over the world?
Right.
Did you think marijuana is going to be federally mandated or federally legal 10 years ago?
No.
Even 5 years. Even
Right.
now, it's still taboo
Yeah.
in some parts of the country.
Yeah.
And if you can smoke pot openly tomorrow, I still wouldn't do it. Just 'cause,
Right.
It's
Not your thing.
It's not my thing.
Just like I don't drink a lot of alcohol.
Right. It's just not my thing. But there's nothing wrong with doing it. And like I said, I would prefer alcohol be banned and marijuana be legal because I've never seen anybody lose their entire life over a joint.
Right. So I guess I've got to share something that you
Yeah.
guys
I'm
don't
so
know
glad.
about me. Yeah.
What do you got?
Something we don't know. What do you got?
Well, I've most definitely never smoked marijuana or eaten any edibles, and I especially didn't smoke or eat any edibles when I saw Fish for Halloween in Las Vegas.
Are you saying this for your children's benefit?
That's exactly right. Take me at face value.
I think my kids know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't really approached that yet. My boys are 14 years old, and it's going to be an interesting road to negotiate. My attitude is try to get kids not to do anything for as long as possible.
Yep.
I think those brains have really got to set, and if we could put it off till they're after
Well,
21.
my
that's
daughter
right.
said to me, Dad, she's 19. Can I get a tattoo? And I said, no. So when you get off my payroll and you're no longer
Yep.
funded by me, you can get a tattoo. You can get a piercing, but a tattoo's for life.
Right.
So you, at 19, you're influenced by your friends. When you're 24, 25, 26, you're getting your life, you're really influenced by yourself. So then if you want to get a tattoo, cool. But, I'm not against tattoos. It's just you may regret it. So be in a position where you already know what you're going to do for a living. You got a little bit more confidence. You know kind of the road that you're traveling. And then maybe you can get a tattoo. And I think that's a very good advice. If you're going to smoke, wait till you're a little bit older.
It's very important because we just don't have the capacity to handle all of these things when we're younger.
Yep.
Responsible adults can do responsible things. Kids just don't.
Well,
So-
you know what? I don't agree because I'm 53 years old and I do this podcast with you, and that's not really responsible.
Yeah, you guys use the F word. I would never use that.
I know, it's pretty fucked up. I know. Roger, how can we find you?
I'm Roger Bloss, rjbloss@gmail.com.
But don't expect him to respond. He doesn't really use
I was going to say, I'm
computers.
not much of a social media kind of guy. So, yes, you're right.
Excellent. Anthony?
You can find me at Anthony Hotels anywhere you want to be on the internet.
And I am at Traveling Glenn. I want to thank you all for listening to another episode of Checking In with Anthony and Glenn. And please give us a 5-star rating. And if you give us a 5-star rating and a great review on iTunes or anywhere else,
We'll send
be
you a
sure-
joint.
We'll send. Well, that sounds like a good deal to me. Don't hold us to it because it's still not legal in New York. But if we're hanging out in Colorado,
Vegas.
California, Las Vegas, Washington, Oregon,
Maine? Is it legal in
Maine, but-
Michigan now.
Michigan
just
now.
passed.
Maine and Massachusetts are legal, but they haven't figured out how to do it
Yeah.
yet. So those are still working out. All right, so we'll see you next time, and thanks for checking in.
It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's Checking In with Anthony and Glenn.